All right, guys. First off, as always, good day. Glad you're here. So, today's lesson is going to be the tail end of the Great Depression. Uh, Now, we've talked about already is from the beginning of the Great Depression. The first video was how everything got really bad. The second video was basically how FDR came into power and started bringing things back up. Now we're getting to the tail end of the Great Depression and basically what happened at the tail end of it. And did FDR's programs and different ideas actually work, and was everybody pleased? Okay, so that's what we're focusing on in this lesson. Okay, so first off, you should already have your Google Classroom, account all set up, and you should already know how to get to the worksheets. So go ahead and do that if you haven't done so already. Again, I've mentioned this in the other videos how I think you should really set it up if you have the capabilities, but if you don't, that's fine. So here is your warm-up picture. So I ask you on there, I believe I put down the first question says write down three things that you see. So there's a picture, break it down. Uh, and then the second question asks you something to the effect of, what do you think this artist is trying to say about the voters? So as you can see, the person on the pan, okay? So if you haven't finished the questions, go ahead and pause the video. We're going to start the notes in three, two, one. All right, so here's the thing. The economy, when FDR took over in 1933, actually started to show small, but there were positive signs of recovery. Okay, so his plans were working from the beginning. Okay, but again, it was small, minute improvements, but still it was improvement. It's better going up than down, right? So over the next 3 years, things started to basically improve. Again, little by little, nothing too drastic, right? People were going back to work. People were having money in their pocket. Um, the banks started doing better. The stock market started doing better. Okay. But the thing is, in 1937, there was a recession. Okay. And it hit because the Federal Reserve actually decided to increase the money in its reserve. You know, so this made investors and citizens kind of like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? People were still in panic mode almost 10 years later, and they saw this move by the Federal Reserve as, oh my God, things are bad. Oh, what do they know that we don't know? Oh my God, and they kind of panicked, and this made the depression last a little bit longer than it was supposed to. Okay. Now the thing is, um, while that's going on here, there's news circulating and of what's going happening in Europe. And what's happening is there's this new guy who basically was elected in Germany, but then he basically made himself the dictator. His name was Adolf Hitler, and he was making some noise saying how he's proclaiming the Third Reich, the third era of Germany. And the thing is, he said that they were going to last like 1,000 years, things like that. So his new Nazi regime brought Germany back into prosperity. Okay, remember, Germany was hurt bad during the Great Depression. All right, you should have learned this in your U.S. history class last year, or sorry, world history class last year. But Germany was one of the worst hit places during the Great Depression. But when Hitler took over, he was able to bring it up. And this got people to like, oh my God, this guy's so amazing, things like that. But there were some rumors starting to spread that he was mistreating certain citizens. He introduced certain laws that were aimed at particular people, um, mainly Jewish people. He also made laws against, people who were uh, homosexual, people who were mentally or physically disabled, things like that. But again, people were in the United States were more worried about what was going on in their country than what was going on over there. Okay, and but the thing is, it was circulating. Things are going on over there. Something's up. It also didn't help in the 1936 Olympics that Hitler proclaimed basically that the Aryan German race was going to win all the gold medals and things like that. Um, but there was a man named Jesse Owens who basically stopped that in a sense, which I will be talking about in another video pretty soon. So keep your eyes open for that if you want to learn about that. Okay. But the thing is, Hitler's drive and Hitler's talk came full force on September 1st, 1939. And that's when Germany invaded Poland. Now, FDR had that workman's program administration. He had them from cleaning up America and rebuilding it, the infrastructure, the bridges and dams and things like that. He changed it to military infrastructure, basically strengthening our military bases, our facilities and things like that. But we were neutral. We were not part of the war. We're not taking sides. We were neutral. But yet FDR is doing this. Okay, so here's the thing. During the Great Depressions, African Americans were hurt pretty badly, especially in the South. In the South, again, remember, the farms were the first place to get hit bad, not only from the Great Depression, but also the Dust Bowl. You know, and that's the other part. That's the only jobs a lot of them could get in the South was either farm work or domestic work. Domestic being, things around town, cleaning houses, washing clothes, things like that. Uh, but or being a nanny, things like that. But the thing is, now that the Great Depression hurt, people started losing jobs. People lost money. Um, some of them started losing their jobs. And the thing is, some of these jobs that they had, they weren't really included with Social Security. Social Security said you had a job, and they specifically said certain jobs, but some domestic jobs and farm work jobs were not listed. So they couldn't even get that. That meant they have no safety net when it comes to unemployment. Um, and the thing is, when they were able to get jobs, um, they were paid so much less. Again, just like everyone else, except again in the South, because of racism and things like that, they were even given less than that. So many of the relief programs wouldn't help African Americans in the South. And because of the people gave so much needed help were white people from the South. Okay. Uh, but the thing is, Roosevelt, he knew for a fact he cannot relate to the African Americans. He can't say with a straight face, "Oh, I know what you're going through. Oh, I know what your hardships are." He knew he couldn't do that. You know, he knew that their lives were different from his. That the vision of a white man living in America at that time was different from an African American living in the South at that time. So what he did is that he had a black cabinet in a sense, and this was led by this lady right here, Mary McLeod. Bethune. All right, I'm sure I killed her name like 3 times you just heard, but this lady, she was in charge of making sure that there was an African American advisor in every program to make sure that there was somebody in that group when they said, "Oh, we're going to help these people," that there was someone there who could say, "How is it going to help African Americans? Does this help African Americans? Are you singling out African Americans?" They had people who would work for that program who would talk to the average person and say, "How is this helping you? Yes or no? How is it or how isn't it? How can we fix it if it isn't?" So that's where they would get the ideas like, "Wait, what do you mean that the Social Security is not helping you? You know, what job did you have? Oh, you were doing this, and it doesn't say that in the laws. Okay, well we'll see what we can do to fix that." So there was again somebody who could not only talk to them, but they looked like them. They were some of the same race, so they wouldn't think like, oh, just another white person, so this person's not going to listen to me. That they felt comfortable talking to somebody just like them, who could understand what they were going through. You know, so that's again what I mean, the importance of this woman's role. Um, and again, the number of African Americans working in the government tripled because of this too. Because again, FDR wanted these programs to help every American who needed help, whether it was financially, getting a job, whatever the deal may be. He wanted to help Americans. All right, so here's your midpoint question. Why do you think Roosevelt was strengthening our military infrastructures if we were neutral and the war was across the Atlantic Ocean? Why do you think he would do that? Why do you think he would worry about let's get our military facilities or infrastructure built and strengthened and things like that? So what do you think? Okay. And the second question is, how would you react if our president, regardless who it may be, it could be Trump, it could be Obama, it doesn't matter which president, just our president, if our president was secretly strengthening our military bases, creating more ships, planes, military equipment, things like that, but we're at peace, but there's a war overseas. How would you react? What do you think? How would you react to that? Okay, so the writing prompts are on the bottom and up there. All right, so be sure you use those writing prompts when you're answering your questions. Okay, and we're going to move on to the notes again on 3, 2, 1. Okay, so women now and at this time were different from women in the past because now these women had to get jobs in order to help pay the bills and keep the families together. Again, some families they had to basically in a sense send their kids off to live with other relatives who could afford to take care of them. So families were split up during this Great Depression. All right, and women were allowed like instead of just working or not even working, just take care of the homes and like that, or doing these little tiny jobs here and there. They were ready to go to work, and they were like, okay, whatever needs to get done, I'll do it. You know, um, during this time, this is where something is really interesting. During this time when women started working, there was actually a 22% decline in marriages from 1929 to 1939. Right. So, thing is, it was easier for a single woman to survive than a married woman or a married woman with children, with or without children, it really doesn't matter. Because again, all she had to do was take care of her. Whereas if she had a husband, it was him and her, and you know, who knows if what he's doing with the money, whether he's pitching in, helping out, or doing something else with it. Okay. If women during this era needed a role model, needed someone to look up to and say, "Man, I need someone to give me words of encouragement, things like that. I need someone to look up to." No better person arrived than the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, which is her right there. Eleanor Roosevelt was one of the toughest women to ever be in at the White House. Strong, strong, strong willed, strong minded first lady. So much so that she was not only FDR's wife, she was also like his advisor. She read into things, she studied herself. She was not just some lady like, oh, this is my beautiful wife, blah, 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 She wasn't one of those ladies who are, oh, I'll just be the first wife and take my role on the side. She didn't like that. She made herself out there, and she made sure that people knew you can't push me around. Um, and the thing is, she lobbied for women. She basically was telling her husband and these senators and people like that, women can do things. Don't put these women on the sidelines. Don't think that, oh, they just belong in the kitchen, or they're just supposed to be raising children. No, these women can work. These women can contribute. You know, you gave us the vote. Now watch how we can help make this country thrive. Okay, she was again all time great. Um, Frances Perkins. She was the first woman to ever hold a cabinet position in the executive office. Okay, so the thing is, also just like now, women were paid a lot less than men. Um, but the jobs that were available for them were more stable. In other words, they didn't have to really worry about, oh, you're going to get fired, or they're going to cut down your jobs, because their jobs were kind of essential. Things like nursing, teaching, and domestic work. Everyone still needs to have their clothes washed. People still need to have things knitted, clothes made, things like that. Okay. Um, the U.S. government also hired many women to work as secretaries. This is again part of FDR's program, the WPA. And the thing is, women worked for that WPA, didn't get jobs like men. You know, most men, some of them worked in, like I said in the last video, they worked out in parks, cleaning up, things like that, the roads and the hills, things like that. They worked in construction, creating dams, bridges, homes, things like that, government buildings. Women in this program mainly got jobs like nursing, sewing, being secretaries, things like that. Uh, and even then, even with the government jobs, they got paid less than men. All right, so here's the thing: women would really continue to work until the 1940s. And then this thing came about. 26 states placed restrictions on women known as the marriage bar. And basically, in a nutshell, it said this: that if you were a married woman, you should be at home. And the person who's going to take your job was not going to be another woman, it would more likely be a man. Now, the thing is, there were some women who were married, or they were single when they got the job and then they got married, and they would hide their marriages. They would take out their rings when they got near their work, or they wouldn't wear a ring at all. And if they were exposed that they were married, or they, hid their marriage, they would likely get fired. You know, Problem was this: with these jobs that the women had, and they would say, okay, well, you lost, we fired this lady, we're gonna give the job to a man. Some of these men would take the jobs and they'd be like, I don't like this job. It's degrading, it's demeaning. I should be doing something with my hand. I should be a man, not working with these ladies, and or this type of work is beneath me. Also, the pay wasn't that great. So some men, I should say a lot of men, quit the job or didn't take the job once they found out what it was and how much they're getting paid. Um, but again, things started getting better, but it's little by little. Okay, it's not like overnight success. Bam, these new deals and all these programs are working. They did work, but it's little baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And it wasn't until 1942 that the Great Depression truly ended. Now, that sounds like all great, right? But the problem is what happens at the end of 1941, which brings us into 1942. Um, this would go on to change American lives forever and the world. We went from one situation into a next. And again, like I said, this next event could have changed the world completely. It could have gone either way. Um, and you'll see next week. So here is your last question. I was telling you about Eleanor Roosevelt. Again, I don't know if you could tell, maybe I'm biased, but she is one of my most favorite first ladies. Again, had so many great quotes and inspirational quotes. But one of my favorites is this one right here. She said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." My question to you is, do you believe that she is right? Yes or no? Now, just in case you don't know what the words inferior or content means, um, look it up on Google. Okay. Uh, I would tell you guys, I want to tell you guys, but I need you guys to realize that there's some times when there's things you don't know, you should really take a couple minutes to look it up. Okay. This being the case, just in case you really don't know what the words mean, look it up. Um, And let's say you say, "Oh, I'm not gonna look it up. I'm just gonna answer it." Your response, it's gonna suffer. I'm gonna be able to tell if you don't know what the words mean. It's gonna be pretty easy. Okay. So I would suggest if you don't know 100% what the word means, look it up. Okay. Take a couple minutes, look them up. Okay. So that's it for this lesson. Um, Again, guys, we are getting near the end. Now the part thing is, some of you guys have written to me on emails and stuff like that that you're having no problems whatsoever with Google Classroom or Google Form. But again, if you do, let me know as soon as possible. Okay, if you see an error, let me know as soon as possible. Okay. But other than that, that's the end. Okay. You guys have a good day. Hopefully you learned something new. Guys, again, please, please, please take care of yourselves, take care of your families. Um, and also, I miss you guys, and I'll see you guys in class. All right. So take care. Be safe.